Hi y'all, Kraken Latte here. This guide will help you through all the challenges of the Celestial Tournament on Timeless Isle. The first 3 battles rotate each week up to 3 times, while the last 4 remain the same. I'll cover all 13 battles for you. And as a side note, it will take you 12 weeks to collect all 4 celestial pets from this tournament if that's what you're after. So let's get cracking. First, you'll need to get over to the Timeless Isle. The best way to get there would be to use the Time Lost Artifact, a trinket which you can buy from Mistweaver Ku for 7,500 timeless coins. It also requires Honored, Reputation with Emperor Xiaohao, and if you don't want to grind that, you can just buy that rep during Pandaria Time Walking. And once you're there, however you did it, talk to Master Li and pick up the quest. Then you can get started. If you're unable to queue for this instance, he explains what you need before you can get started, which just consists of having a certain amount of level 25 pets, which you'll want them anyways, or this will be very difficult. Starting with the Week 1 battlers, we have Chen Stormstout. For him, you're going to want to use the Mechanical Axe Beak with abilities 1, 2, and 1, Terraclaw Hatchling with 1, 1, and 2, and a Mechanical Pandaren Dragonling at 1, 1, and 2. So let's get into it. Just like previous episodes, I will go through this in a 1, 2, and 3 basis. So first, start with ability 3. Then, go for number 2. And this one will go for a couple rounds. Once that one's available, we're going to use number 1. Bam, first pet's already dead. Now we're going to switch out, after we pass, to the Terraclaw Hatchling. And for him, we're starting with a number 2. Want to dodge those abilities, because this one will hurt if you don't. Then, do a number 1. Let's claw that little bug. Do a number 1 again, just for good measure. Bam. He's not doing so hot. Now we use a number 3, and when this ability kills the pet, it heals you as well. But it has to kill them to heal you, so that's why we used it last. This ability will continue for a second round, so let it do its thing, and then we're going to use a number 1 once it lets us. Don't use number 2 just yet, we'll need to save that for another ability. We don't want to get ourselves one-shot now. See that barrel? Now we use the number 2, because that will do a lot of damage if we don't dodge it. Look at that. Dodge that missile. Now use number 1. Let's dodge the second one again, because he uses it twice. So use a number 1. We have to take that one, but that's okay. Keep using your number 1. And then we can finish him with a number 3 once he lets us. There we go. Nice. And look at that. Your pet's healed for the next battle if you need it. Done. Our next battle for the first week is going to be Taran Zhu. And here we'll want the Infernal Pyroclaw at 1, 1, 1, a Giant Bone Spider at 1, 1, 1, and a Restored Revenant at 2, 2, and 2. Let's battle. Now we're going for a cleave strat here because his backline pets suck. So, use a number 3. This will poison all 3 of them. Just like that. Bam. Take some damage. We're going to use a number 1 so we can speed ourselves up a little bit. As soon as he lets us anyways. Pass if you get stunned. That's why we want that number 1. There we go. Now we use number 2. This one will hit all 3 pets as well. Use it again. Then we're going to put a number 3 back on. Make sure to keep that poison up. It may not look like you're not, doing a lot here, but you actually did quite a bit because it's across 3 pets. So, switch to your Bone Spider. Now, we're going to go for a number 2. This will web him so we can do extra damage. It's okay if you get stunned, that'll happen. Use a number 1. and a number 3. This ability will heal us a little bit too, which is important, because you can't heal during this challenge. Bam. After that number 1, he's down. Now for this guy. Let's start with a number 1. As soon as he lets us. No point in healing now. He's finished. Poor Spooter. Oh, look at that. What's this? I got one more round? That's right. He's undead. Use number 1 anyways. That's why we use this spider. Special. And now he's dead. Rip Spood. Alright, bringing in number 3. Gonna use number 1. It's okay if that jerk heals. We're gonna take him out anyways. Again with the stun, that's fine. Using number 1. It'll be cutting it a little close, and that's kind of normal for this guy. Using number 3. And bam! He is done. Psych! For our third fight in week 1, we're going to be fighting Wrathion. Before he grew up, that is. We'll want to use a Benax at 2, 2, and 1, Albino Camerling at 1, 2, and 2, and a Nubisith Idol at 1, 2, and 1. Let's battle. To start with, do a number 2. This'll get us some nasty plague going, so that's fun. And then we'll use a number 1. Those ice stacks up there, they'll stack a little high, so let's use a number 3 so we can get rid of it. Or at least not take damage, because yuck. Now, use a number 1. And our plague killed him. Poor little Cindy. It'll stick around for one more round, so just pass, hang out, wait for it to die. There it goes. Now for this one, throw up your flies again. That's number 2. Plague is key in this fight. Now we're gonna go for number 1, which is lick. We're just gonna lick this dragon to death as much as we can before we die to the cold and fire simultaneously. Terrible way to go. Use number 1 again. Not doing a whole lot of damage, but that's okay. This pet was just kind of for the first one anyways. To eat up all these frost stacks. Poor thing. Number 1 again, if you can. Poor Frocky. Switch to your Albino Camerling. Now we're talking business. Use number 2. And then we're going to use a number 1. Now this might miss. If it does, you might have to restart the fight, but it shouldn't. It's a 90% chance. That's still an 8, right? Right. Dragon on dragon. Super effective. Dead. Alright, now we're going to use a number 3 on his third pet here. Did you notice that his little Deathwing pet is named Dada? That's a little awkward, if you really kind of consider this. Anyways, use a number 1 now. It's okay if you've died here, your third pet will certainly take care of him. He's down far enough. Now, we're going to use a number 2 for good measure. Don't need to die for being foolish. And then use a number 1. Bam. No more dragon pets. Now the next 4 battles are going to be the same every week, so let's slide right into those, assuming this is your first week. Starting with Eula. We're going to want a Puddle Terror at 2, 2, and 2, Bonkers at 1, 2, and 2, and a spring rabbit or something similar at 1, 2, and 2. Easy as pie. Starting with Eula here, we are going to use a number 2. This'll stun her. Haha. And then use number 1. Number 1 again. Now these particular pets are technically humanoid. Use number 1 again there, and then number 3 as soon as she flies up. There we go. That way you can dodge that big ability. Now these pets are technically equipped with humanoid abilities. And that's what we want because they're super effective against these dragons. So keep that stun on cooldown and just keep using your number 1 as a filler. There's that flight again. Perfect timing. Use number 3 so we can dodge that. Do a wee bit of damage, but you know, that's not really what it was for. Stun her again with a number 2. Keep that off cooldown. And fill her with your number 1 again. Just keep spamming that 1. Pretty simple fight. It's really all there is to it. Just kind of the same thing repeatedly. If you do happen to die with your first pet here, that's why we have the 2 backline pets, just in case. Any humanoid pets will work, honestly. Like, see here, I died a little prematurely. That's okay. I'm gonna go for number 3 from Bonkers. And that finished her off. The little Zufu Tiger is going to be our next victim here. For him, we're using the Sun Reaver Myco Sentry at 2-1-1, Lil Bling at 2-2-1, and the Dark Moon Tonk at 1, 1, and 2. Let's fight. First off, we're going to start with a number 3, which is mainly what this pet is for, just to give him a good ol' shocky. And there goes my dog. Switch to your little bling. And you're going to use a number 3. It's okay if you die here like I did, because you come back at least for one more round, which is exactly what you want so you can get off your number 1. Because that will double the damage. Well, mostly. It's been nerfed. 50% of the damage. Whatever it is actually now. Still a buff. We still want it. Whatever it is, we want it. Alright, switch to your number 3 pet, which is your Tonk. We're going to use a number 2. Now it doesn't look like we're getting very far, but you just watch. There goes that. And then we're going to use a number 3 to absolutely wreck this cat's day. Bam. Easy as pie. For our 6th fight for this week, we've got Zhao, Little Ox Pet. We're going to use the Sun Reaver Micro Sentry again at 2, 2, and 1. That's okay if he's a little damaged, it's no big deal. The Zandalari Ankle Render at 2, 1, and 2, and a Zandalari Knee Biter at 2, 2, and 1. Now these were recently nerfed a little bit, but don't worry, they still do the job. You just need 2 of them instead of 1. Not a big deal. So, let's start with a number 1. Let's get a little bit of a fell burn on this boy. We're having beef for dinner. And then do number 3. Don't worry if you die, you are a bot, so you come back for one more turn, which is exactly what you need. And now switch to your Ankle Render. Going to put on a number 3, Black Claw. It's going to debuff him. It's okay if you're taking a lot of damage. It's going to happen, but you'll take him out real quick, so don't you worry. Do a number 1. In between the lightning, your Black Claw, and the fire, he's a cooked ox. Just like that. Quick and painful, right? Right. Now for our 7th fight and the last one of this week, we've got Chi-Chi. Cute little thing. we're going to wreck her face with the Corefire Imp at 2, 1, and 2, Scooter the Snail at 1, 1, and 1, and Bonkers, which is optional, at 1, 2, and 2. I say optional, but I definitely recommend always having a third strong pet. You never know with these fights. So, let's start with a number 2. So, put a nice little burn shield on us. Then we'll go for number 3 to get a debuff on her. And then let's switch to Scooter the Snail. Start with a number 1. Get a bit of a ooze touch going on. Bad touch that bird. Use number 2. Get your goo all over it. Mmm, tasty. Just what we want. Some little acid with dinner. Use number 1 again. And again. He'll probably dodge, but that's okay. Now let's go under with number 3. So we can try to survive a little bit longer. And this will probably finish him off. Yep, there it goes. Super easy. The last 4 pets are easy. Now, like I mentioned at the start of the video, the first 3 fights rotate weekly. So, for week 2, moving on, assuming you've done week 1, we'll have the Sea Pony at 1, 2, 2, the Terraclaw Hatchling at 1, 2, 1, and the Pandaren Fire Spirit at 1, 1, and 2. Let's get into it. To start off, we're going to use a number 3, and I'm apparently facing the wrong way again. That's interesting. Let's use a number 1 while that's empowered. That's what number 3 did. And then we're going to use number 3 to completely wreck this guy. Dunzo. He's out for the count. Now we're going to use straight to the number 1 here. We don't have enough health to use a number 3. So just do a little bit of damage. And poor Seahorse is gone. That's okay. Time for our Terraclaw Hatchling. Gonna use a number 2 right away. This is gonna put a heal overtime on us, which we're going to want. Use a number 3 to raise our crit. And then a number 1 to turn this pig into bacon. Use a number 1 again. Almost. One more number 1. Just like that. Nice. And we still have almost full health. Look at that. Might as well keep going with Terraclaw Hatchling. Throw number 2 on for heals. Throw a number 3 up again. That way we get our crit back. That's good for a few turns. And then, just like before, we're going to use number 1. Now, we're not super effective here, but that's okay. We're going to get at least a couple attacks off, absorb some of this guy's abilities, especially since he has a shield on. And we'll go ahead and switch to our Pandaren Fire Spirit like we probably should have. Youch. There's that bar at present, but that's okay. Use number 2. His shield is back, but that's fine. That's just gonna be something he does. And use number 3. And then a number 1. Number 1 again. He should be almost done here. Nope, he healed. That present either harms you or heals him, so great turn off there. Use number 1 again. Just keep spamming that fire until this guy's gone. Now he's got a little bit of life left because of his robot mechanic. That's okay. Keep flaming him. And that's alright if you die here, he'll die to his burns most likely. And that fight's done. For the second fight of week 2, we've got Shademaster Kiryn. For her, we're going to want the Father Winter's Helper at 211, the Ghastly Kid at 221, and the Menagerie Custodian at 2, 1, and 2. Now let's fight. Now this fight can get a little tricky, so pay attention to this guy's rotation. Use your number 3. That'll get that one going. Go with the number 1. One again. One again. And that's okay, we wanted that guy to switch out. And now we can do some mega damage on this cat. Keep using your 1, because that alone will take out the little mechanical cat. We'll sneak in a number 2 just for good measure. But it's fine if you keep using number 1 as well. Especially when it changes the weather. We want the snowy weather. And we don't want that electrical storm that that little cat put up, so it's a good time to use it for that. This guy's back. We don't lag him, so let's throw up the number 3 again. Because he's a meanie. Keep using our number 1. Just like before. And there goes our little helper. But that's alright. Let's pull out our Ghastly Kid. Let's go for a number 2. This will make sure we dodge any oncoming attacks, because this guy hurts a lot. And since he is stunned, he will be switched out again, so we're going to go ahead and use our 3, because that will hit the wolf. Now, switch to your Custodian. Now, he used a dodge ability, so that's why I'm not using my number 2 just yet. I used a number 1 just because, but we're going to use a number 2 now. It's alright if you get 1 shot, you come back for a turn or 2, and you can use a number 3 now. Done. No more Wolfie. Now we shouldn't have too much problem finishing off with this guy, because he's the real issue of this fight. No more Custodian, but that's fine. The Ghastly Kid's got a trick up its sleeve. Or hoof. Use your number 2, that way we can dodge some nasties. And we'll use our number 1. And then number 3. Bam. Just like that. We got one more fight that's different for week 2, and then remember the 4 after this one are the same. So, for Wise Mari, we want 2, 2, and 1 on the Gilnean Raven, Mechanical Pendairn Hatchling, Dragonlink, excuse me, at 1, 2, and 2, and the Lesser Void Caller at 2, 2, and 2. So, let's do this guy dirty. And use a number 1. Bird versus fish. Automatically powerful, right? Right. Use a number 1 again. Now we want a number 2 to get rid of this blasted rain. That's not good for us. And use a number 3. Now this ability has a 40% hit chance, but if you use your number 2 first, it will always hit. So let's switch to our dragon. Now throw up a number 3. That'll give us a couple of rounds of protection. Use a number 2. This will do a damage between both pets that are remaining. And then fill with number 3. Number 1, excuse me. All the mistakes. Number 1 is your filler. Just use that until this guy is done. Breathing all over his spirit. Sounds a little weird. Use your number 2 for good measure at the end there. Just because. Throw in another breath because you're still alive somehow. Go ahead and, if you're still alive by this point, use your number 3 just to prolong the inevitable. And then we're going to switch to our number 3. That decoy will eat up that nasty whirlpool coming here. Just like that. Now use number 2 with your Void Collar. This will also protect you from any oncoming damage. And pass, because if you hit it, it gets rid of the block. It's one of those for some reason. Now use your number 3. Power yourself up. And then use number 1. And use number 1 again, but he's probably under by now. So just keep using that once he pops back up. There he is. And now we're done. Good job. Like I said before, the 4 pets after this are the same as before. So let's move on to week 3, assuming you've done week 2. We've got Dr. Ian Goldbloom to start with, and we're going to want Crominius at 212, Spirit of Summer at 221, and the Dark Moon Tonk at 1, 1, and 2. That'll take this guy out. I wonder if he has any relation to the real life Ian. Interesting. Start with a number 1. It won't hit the first pet, but that's okay. It'll hit the backline once. And then use number 2 once this guy comes down. Get a nasty debuff on him. And then we'll use number 3 to just wreck his day. Overpowered much? Of course it isn't. Alright, we're recovering for a couple turns, but that's fine. Eat up some of that damage there. Go ahead and get a number 1 off if you're still alive. This guy was mostly for the first pet. And let's switch to number 2, our Spirit of Summer. Now use a number 1. Get some fire damage going on this guy, and then use a number 2. Beautiful. Now this guy is burning, and he will continue to burn not just from your 1 ability, but from your 2 ability. That's a lot of fire damage. Use your number 1 again, and he's done. Now your number 2 ability is awesome and will keep burning for the area. Use your number 1. It's okay if your Spirit of Summer dies, we've still got our Tonk. Which is just as planned. Hit him with your number 1. So we want to make sure our next 2 abilities only need to be used once. Perfect. Now use your number 2. And then, because overkill reasons, let's use our number 3. Can't be too careful. Bam! Extreme overkill. For our next week 3 fight, we've got Lorewalker Cho. For him, we'll want the Twilight Clutch Sister at 1, 1, and 2. The Albino Chimeraling at 2, 2, and 2. And the Nightmare Whelpling at 2, 1, and 2. We're getting all sorts of void on this guy. Dragon style. Start first with a number 2. And then we're going to use a number 1. The Tail Sweep does greater damage than normal simply because we're slower than they are. Keep using that a good few times. And because we have that little buff up there now, a little green dragon head, now we want to use our 3rd ability. Because we took damage that almost killed us and prevented it, that's our dragon ability, we want to use our number 3. That's why that is there. When that's done, use your number 1. Easy enough. Now go ahead and use your number 1. We're faster, but it's also super effective, so it's kind of a wash there. That's alright. Use your number 2. That way we can avoid this nasty whatever that is. And then use your number 1 again. Number 1 again. Kind of getting the idea how this bet works. And then it's dead. Now let's bring out our Chimeraling. For this one, start with, you guessed it, number 1. And that broom is dead. Now use number 2. And that just takes care of that pet. End of fight. And now we just got one more fight that's different for week 3. Sully the Pickle McLeary. For him, we're going to use our Albino Desk Watcher at 2, 1, and 2. Icky at 1, 1, and 1. And Foul Feather at 1, 2, and 1. It's a whole bird party. You might not need the third one, but get it anyways, just in case. You never know with these tournaments. So, to start this fight off, let's use a number 1. How exciting. Do a couple attacks there. Nice, nice, nice. Number 1 again. And now we'll use a number 2. This will heal us, which is a big plus. And then use number 1. Number 1 again. Real exciting rotation here. Number 1 again. And since this raccoon is undead, he'll come back for a turn, but that's fine. We're actually going to use Liftoff during this turn, which is our number 3. Because it won't hit him. He'll die while we're up here. And we'll dodge his ability. And this will wait and hit the bird. That is not a bird, that is a bunny. Apparently I don't know my animals. So go ahead and pass because he's gonna dig and our bird is dead. That's okay though, we have 2 more. Bring out your Icky and we'll use number 2, Blackclaw. Icky kinda has only 1 rotation really. Now use your number 3. Icky was nerfed recently, but that's fine. It still does the job, as you can see here. Nerfs weren't too bad, really. Still takes out the rabbit. So that is fine. Your number 3 will continue for probably 1 more round here. And then use a number 2 when it's done. That way you can get your debuff on this. Well, if you can. It looks like we died there. That's alright. That's why we have our backup pet. Quote unquote. Use that number 2. And then use number 3. And that number 3 will continue until poor little otter is dead. Easy fight. Look at that. And there we have it. That is all 13 fights for the Celestial Tournament. As you can see down below on the timeline of this video, I've got each one stamped out for you with the name and such and what week they belong to. That way you can refer to this later since you can't do them all in one go. I hope you found this helpful and good luck on getting all 4 pets. That'll take you 12 weeks. I'm a little lazy and I don't even have them. You might beat me there. Congratulations if you did this, and I hope this helped. As always, thank you so much for watching, and remember, it's never too latte.